This show happens because of Web Central, creators of beautifully effective websites for small businesses. You can grab an exclusive listener deal over at webcentral.com.au/Timbo. And we're made possible by Design Crowd, the world's #1 custom design marketplace where you can get a design you love, guaranteed all your money cheerfully refunded. There's an exclusive VIP offer waiting for you over at designcrowd.com/ you guessed it, Timbo. Oh, I remember my days working for Australia's biggest travel agent. I absolutely dreaded wearing their corporate uniform. I felt like such a dag. Polyester shirt, navy slacks. In fact, I think the tie was even on a bit of elastic. Where was today's guest when I needed her? She runs a very disruptive uniform business that even Gwyneth Paltrow loves.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, which is Australia's #1 marketing podcast. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner and you are ready, I hope you're ready, to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Welcome back if you're a long-time listener. Love your work. If you're new, stick around. You are going to have some fun and build your business at the same time if you implement what you hear in the show. Hey, big show today. Another disruptive marketer, Felicity Rogers of the modern uniform business Cargo Crew. She joins us to explain, amongst other things, how Gwyneth Paltrow came to wearing one of her uniforms. I've got some feedback from a listener who's been inspired to create a podcast herself. And we revisit a past episode in which Australia's voice of online retailing shared some absolute gold. Speaking of gold, there's absolute marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. So coming up, disruptive marketer Felicity Rogers of Cargo Crew. But first, a quick check-in, team. Now, I was going to do an episode this week overviewing the AusPod podcasting conference that I attended recently, but I left my notebook in the plane the other day. Oh, there was some good stuff in it. Not only great notes, but contacts that I'd made. Anyway, I've put a call through to Qantas. They're looking for it. Gee, I hope I find it, and I can do that episode down the track for you. Hey, big thank you to all forum members. I just want to... big hug to all my forum members. You know, the discussions we're having around growing each other's business through smart marketing are nothing short of inspiring. So thank you to each and every one of you that are a member of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. And if you're not, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and you can join up. Within a couple of minutes, you'll be in there, and myself and other motivated business owners will be answering your marketing conundrums. And there is still time to book a seat on my Philippines tour in November. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/tour. Righto, enough of that. On with the show. Now, I met today's guest, Felicity Rogers of Cargo Crew, a couple of months ago at the Telstra Business Awards, where I happened to be the MC. And in fact, a year before, Cargo Crew won the National Small Business Award, which is no mean feat. So what's Cargo Crew, I hear you ask? Well, as Felicity says, she's building a brand that crews, that's her funky word for workers or employees, around the world love to wear. She goes on to say that Cargo Crew creates original design-led uniforms. They sure do. They're very funky. They're very cool. That enhance and complement a business's visual identity and brand language, hey? That sounds complicated, but trust me, all will be explained. Now, Cargo Crew exports to over 30 countries with 12,000 crews around the world wearing their uniforms. Their clients include Renault, Hoyts, Freedom Furniture, that groovy coffee roaster Seven Seeds, and as I said at the start, even Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop skincare business wears Felicity's aprons. Listen in, Felicity's going to share the power of a good corporate uniform, why your business's visual language is important, how she got a massive international contract by advertising in a tiny little magazine, how Gwyneth Paltrow came to wear her uniform, plus we talk pricing, photography, retail versus online. I've got to tell you, team, there is so much marketing goodness in this chat, it's unbelievable. And by the way, during this interview, Felicity forgot to tell us about another big win she had recently, which I will share after the interview. Now, Felicity has some pretty young things modelling her uniforms on the Cargo Crew website, but many of them look a little forlorn. So I started off by asking Felicity, why do fashion models always look so sad?
That is a very interesting question. Look, to be honest, I think they get the direction from the photographer and the art director for the job that they're working on. So essentially, if the designer or the brand wants attitude and, a solemn look, then that's what they do.
Well, clearly they often want attitude and solemn looks. You're not as guilty as Spell and the Gypsy Collective. You have some happy photos, but I'm going to say, there are some solemn ones, and the guys are wearing really nice clothes. But anyway.
That's very interesting that you mentioned that, because we actually had to do a presentation a couple of weeks ago when we did this ANZ growth program that they're putting us through. We had to do a presentation to the panel and the audience, which were co-business owners. And one of them said, all your imagery is so happy and engaging. And then this new image that you've got up on the screen at the time, which was the modern uniform, is more solemn and serious. And they don't look as happy, and they really noticed that. And I said, it's funny, because we were trying to make a point around distinguishing the new direction of, I guess, the slightly more, corporate.
Well, everything you do, I mean, it's interesting. Everything you do is disruptive. So if
people are talking, get people talking. Why are they doing that?
Exactly right. But it's like, why go down the path of all this solemn photography, which you're not. I mean, there's some really nice shots, and I want to talk more about photography later, because it clearly is a what I'd call a critical marketing success factor in your business. But
I would totally agree.
What's your elevator pitch, Felicity, when someone asks, what is Cargo Crew?
So basically, we are the modern uniform. We design and produce uniforms that staff want to wear. And we believe, a uniform is not only about the practical elements of staff being noticed and identified, but, really extending a business or brand's visual identity.
Nice. Because clearly at some point 4 years ago, when you started the business, you said to yourself, gee, there's some pretty corporate uniforms out there.
Absolutely. I actually started the business 14 years ago.
Ooh, hello.
But Cargo Crew as a brand we launched 4 years ago. So basically, when I did start the business 14 years ago, the focus was around designing, fashionable uniforms for corporates.
Even then?
Yeah, everything that we did was designed and produced to a brief. So I guess to kind of flip back, further to my background, I did study fashion at RMIT, and I had 1 year of working in fashion PR after I graduated, and I always knew that I wanted to have my own business, and I really wanted to get a fashion label up and running. So I started that a year after I graduated with a friend from uni, and we did that for 5 years. So during that time, the Melbourne Fashion Festival was launched. We were part of the Young Designer Parade set. We used to get a lot of PR. It was before online, really, before the internet. So orders would be faxed, and we'd have to ring up and make appointments. There was no promotion on social media. So whilst we, I think we had a great little business, we literally made no money and never got paid. But it was during
not really a great little business.
Great business from creative perspective.
Yeah, okay. So just stop there. Take a breath. Yep. Because there obviously is, interesting that you went through fashion school, you're a designer, but you must have quite the entrepreneurial mindset, because it would be way too seductive if you didn't, to just get into, and I'm using quote marks, fashion, designing stuff that, there's not a market for, people don't want to buy, it's seasonal, whereas you have 14 years ago, where the word disruptive, Felicity, I'm not sure it existed in the business lexicon. You've gone, there's this industry that's just kind of doing my head in with bone slacks and, blouses and these are things that people are wearing to work. Yeah, so...
I totally agree. I think I definitely have always had the entrepreneurial mindset, but I've also just really loved the marketing side of business. So I think the combination of designing clothing and then realising how they can benefit from a marketing perspective and a brand's image, to me, it just relates. So, when we were doing the label, we got approached by a couple of businesses to design their uniforms, and that's what triggered the idea, because I actually enjoyed the process of getting a brief from a client. Okay, this is how we want our staff to look. How can we do that through our uniforms? So that was the start of the process of me thinking this is, something I really enjoy.
So am I right in saying that for the first 10 years you're making bespoke corporate uniforms, which are nice, but you're in that bespoke space. 4 years ago, you've gone light bulb. We're going to have our own corporate uniform brand called Cargo Crew. Is that what happened?
That's exactly right. So basically, over the years of making bespoke uniforms, listening to clients, understanding the process of how clunky it is to get a brief, design something from scratch, make samples, test and produce, and then produce the orders, and then have to reorder constantly with the minimum quantities and long lead times. The whole process was just extremely extremely high cost.
Cost prohibitive.
Cost prohibitive, exactly. And so I think through the years of doing, bespoke work, I really got to understand what our customers want and need. And the idea came, from myself and also my sister, who joined me in the business 6 years ago, to actually create a range that people can order from stock that's available. There's no minimum reorder quantities, and it's the product that we know that they want to wear. So it's taking all of that experience along with, my fashion design abilities and putting that into a really easy workable product range for people to be able to procure. So it's definitely, I think, has set us apart in the market. The other, I think, thing that's different about it is that we don't have resellers. So we basically produce a high-quality product and sell direct to our market at wholesale prices, whereas a lot of the bigger uniform brands in the industry really distribute through reselling networks.
So you're selling online.
Yes.
You've got a retail store in very groovy Brunswick, Melbourne, inner city kind of bohemian chic suburb of Melbourne, which, by the way, rents wouldn't be cheap there. I want to talk about that. So, so they're your two distribution channels, right? Online and retail.
That's correct.
Okay. And obviously online, how long ago did retail come along?
Well, to be honest, we moved to Brunswick 2 years ago from Collingwood. So when we made that move to a much bigger premises, we were able to build more like a retail showroom. So that was about 2 years ago that we really started promoting that people can come here and, have styling advice and, try on and get kitted out for their uniforms.
What was there's one upside from having all of a sudden the ability to walk in off the street. How much of a business impact did it have having that shop front?
I think for the local Melbourne market, it's great because, at the end of the day, people always prefer to actually touch and feel the product and see the quality for themselves. But, again, that's quite limiting to just have that in Melbourne. Yeah. So we still obviously need to have the other avenues of how we can engage with our customers, interstate and also overseas. So, in practical kind of form, we just offer a very easy process for samples to be purchased and easily returned and refunded so that people do have the opportunity to feel confident in what they're purchasing. And if they're not happy, then, they can return it and we refund.
Can we just explore that? It's so important. So many businesses make it hard for people to give them money. They make it hard to return. They make it hard to do business. Do you have this kind of philosophy at Cargo Crew of ease across everything? Yeah,
100%. I mean, our absolute overarching focus is client service because my sister, as I mentioned, joined me in the business in 2008 and her background was advertising. So she really brought that kind of client service expertise to the business.
Was she a suit in an advertising agency? I was.
I remember you mentioned that. Yes, so you know all about client service.
I do. I'm bending over backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it just makes such a difference because if you not only have a great product and a great offering, if you can deliver that product in a way that's memorable for customers and it's a consistent service and the support is there, then really to us, it's not just about the product. It's about the experience of buying from Cargo Crew. So we definitely do focus on making it easy for customers. And we also understand that, we're limited with being a small business, how we can get our product out there for customers to view before they make the big decision of investing in a new uniform. So, of course, we have to really focus on making that process easy. We offer a digital styling advice. So we will take a brief from the client, what are they looking for, and we'll help put looks together for them in a presentation format. And, we'll either email that to them if they're, interstate or overseas. So there's a lot of communication.
How does that? I'm just looking at that now. That's on your website. That's uniform styling. Is that right?
Correct.
So how does digital styling advice work? Because this is interesting. All of a sudden you are you're selling a tangible product, but it's online, so it's kind of intangible because I can't hold it. And,
Correct.
if I was buying stuff, Felicity, I don't know whether to match my socks with my shoes or my pants or my belt. So, I'm in trouble here. So how are you going to? You're probably not going to work with someone like me, but
I think it's just being confident in our range and listening to what the client tells you. Okay, this is our venue or this is our business. These are the kind of staff that we have, and this is the kind of tasks that they're doing. So I guess us knowing our range as we do, and our team being well trained in product and style, then it's about educating the customer. If you choose this shirt, then it will definitely be, cooler for your staff to wear, and that coordinated with, this apron or this chino pants can give you that resort look that you're after. It's really about guiding the customer through the range and putting looks together that, that listens to their brief.
Resort look sounds a bit 90s.
Oh, no.
Bit
Resort
Love Boat?
is very... No, resort. You can still rock the resort.
Can you rock the resort?
Absolutely.
I didn't think you could. I thought the leisure suit was it was gone. Maybe it's making a comeback. Hey,
have you been to Palm Beach lately?
I haven't.
They do it well.
Do they do? Okay, all right. Yeah. So tell me, this is a general question, but when what you touched on then was the idea of briefing and extracting a brief from the client that means that you can deliver the best design result possible, right?
Correct.
So that works across, I know you just do uniforms, but I've got listeners who are briefing in logos, websites, brochures, book covers, signage. What is the key to a small business owner who doesn't understand this concept of briefing and the need for getting it right?
Yeah.
What do you say to them in terms of the kind of, how do you brief a creative person?
I think you just need to be really clear about who you're talking to as your audience and how do you want to be portrayed as far as, is your visual language about being super simple and super sleek and not being too bold and too loud. But if you do want to be bold and loud, then you need to be explaining that to your creative and saying, we really want to make an impact with what we're putting together here.
Okay.
So I think it's really important that you can visualise how you see your identity in the way that you communicate to your audience, and then be consistent with that. I think that is the number one key.
I think you nailed it. Getting clear on who you are selling to. And I always say, we talk a lot about this inside my forum where it's like it's not just about the demographics, right?
No.
I mean, age, sex, income, location, that's not that interesting. That doesn't tell a creative person that much about the people you're selling to. But once you get, what problems have these people got? What do they think about your brand, about your industry? What other brands do they love? These are questions I would imagine that if you knew, it's going to give you the opportunity to deliver a better outcome.
I agree. And it's also just really, understanding the essence of your brand and how you can make that desirable to your customer.
Yeah.
And, being confident with that and consistent. Yep.
So you got your own brand. Things are starting to rock. You're 14 years old now. The business anyway. You're 16.
Overnight
You're 16.
success.
Overnight success. Yeah. What was it? Tell me about that moment where you've looked at Sister Narelle. Hubby's in the business too, isn't he?
Yeah, I just dropped my earphone.
Don't
Sorry.
drop your earphone. Tell me about the moment when you've looked at each other and gone, "Yep, we're nailing it."
Well, I mean, that is absolutely an ongoing, I guess, situation to be in. So, yeah, my husband, Paul, he joined the business 3 years ago. He was always behind the scenes, helping us with ITs and systems and all the practical things of running a business. But I guess whilst...
Come on, there must have been a moment when you got a big order or whether... Come on, what?
I think it's a combination of things. Like, I think it's a combination of one, when the online part of the business really started to take off, and seeing that you'd wake up in the morning and there was orders from overnight. And we started to say, wow, this is really working. Yeah, that was a great feeling. But I guess, you know what it is, like the more successful your business is and the more it grows, then the more challenges that come with that, as far as understanding how the business has to run, what systems need to be implemented to support that. So it's recognising the success, but it's also, figuring out what's next to keep that going and to keep moving ahead and to keep ahead of our competitors.
Yeah. Okay.
But as far as the light bulb moment, it was funny because when we first, decided to set up the digital part of the business and the online store, we have a long-term relationship with our local embroiderer in Collingwood, and he does a lot of work for all the uniform businesses in Melbourne. And he said to me at the time, after we'd been working like day and night, weekends, getting the website built, doing a lot of the uploading of the images and everything ourselves, he said to me, Felicity, this is never going to work. I've had other clients that have tried it and selling uniforms online just doesn't work. And I'll never forget that because at the time I remember we were very close to launch and I was like, oh, I can't believe that we're going, spending all this time and money and, he's saying, he's had people and it just doesn't work. So we proved him wrong and that is, I think, for me, that moment of going, I know that this works now online, having the uniform business online does work. And the reason it works is, is because of the way that we're communicating to our customers, the visual language that we're using with our own photography and our own storytelling, sharing the stories of our clients, showing people this is how a uniform can be, and then obviously to top that off, the focus on our product, which we spend a lot of time and love putting innovation in designing original product.
Yeah, love it. And how is that embroiderer in Collingwood? Still embroidering for you?
He is, absolutely.
Good on him. Has he eaten humble pie?
Oh no, he would never admit it. He would never remember it. But, for me, it was definitely a defining moment.
I want to talk marketing with you in a minute, but just tell us, wrap some numbers around where Cargo Crew's at now. Can you talk about turnover, number of staff, SKUs, website traffic? Just give us a sense.
Okay, so as far as staff numbers, in the last year, so from 4 years ago, we've grown from 4 people to 22 people.
How fantastic.
So we have, a great size crew on board now. And, we don't actually disclose turnover as such, being a private business.
No one listening, Felicity, just you and me.
But as far as sales growth, the past 2 years we've seen, 80% growth. And particularly in the last 12 months, the online sales growth has been around 40%. So, they're big numbers to grow. And obviously with that comes a lot of extra investment in stock.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, our offering is that our product is available from stock. As our range grows, as far as SKUs, we have around 110 styles now. So we've grown from 4 aprons when we first launched, 4 denim aprons, to now being 110 styles. So
nice.
As far as growth within 4 years on styles, that's pretty significant, I would say.
Love it. Hey, listeners, I'm talking to Felicity Rogers, who is the founder of Corporate Uniform, a very cool corporate uniform business, Cargo Crew. Now, Felicity, let's talk marketing. After all, this is the Small Business Big Marketing Show.
Love that.
Now, I've got quite a few little kind of areas I want to cover. Let's start with your website because you got it's a great user interface. The visual language on it, even the written language on it, it's very clear and it makes you want to click. I don't think that was an accident. You put a lot of work into that, right?
Absolutely. And again, I wouldn't say it's all, totally contrived because I feel like a lot of that does come naturally to us. Like we are extremely passionate about what we're doing. So, the language that we're using is really just us talking directly to our customer. This is what's good about it. This is how you can wear it. It's, I think we're relating to our customer on that level. The visual language, absolutely, we do put a lot of effort and work into around how we're presenting our product. And, when we first started, direct marketing was probably the one thing that we focused on a lot because it's something that we could afford at the time. So investing in, beautiful photography and then using those images and directly, targeting hospitality groups, venues and things like that to get that brand awareness. This was obviously whilst our SEO was growing. People obviously you don't just launch a website and people find you. So until
many think they do.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, that's a whole different strategy around people finding you online. So I think initially that communication and I think the strength behind our visual language was really important to introduce our brand to our market.
And when you talk about visual language, I mean, you're not just talking about photography, are you? What else what else are you referring to?
I think it's everything from, the models that you choose to their expressions, engagement, like you mentioned before about the solemn versus, smiling faces. It's how the product's styled and how that is, accessorized. And it's putting things into context. Like one outfit look presented one way could also work for a business, say a retail environment versus a hospitality venue. The same look could work if it was styled and presented differently. Yeah. So the visual language is definitely a communication tool for us.
So just with the website though, do you have someone internally who's managing that full time, or you have a web design agency?
So it's a combination. We recently, just at the end of last year, actually, we employed a digital publisher who works in the business full-time in the office. So she works alongside our digital agency, keeping them in check. And then we also have a consultant who's basically worked with us from the start who focuses more so on our SEO and AdWord campaigns. So she analyses our analytics, see what's working, see where the traffic's, coming from, the most time people are spending on the site, what are they reading, what's working, what's pushing. So she's really, focusing on those kind of analytics, and then feeds back to us what we need to be doing more. And where we need to be putting our money.
Give an example of where she's come in and gone, you're not going to believe this. We've just had 1,000 hits on a particular product or something. Where does she really come into her own?
What's really interesting is like the pages, the content pages where we're giving advice and offering, for example, styling advice or uniform tips to know, those kind of pages, they rank very highly. So people are really looking for that guidance.
That's helpful marketing.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side of that, when we recently dressed Gwyneth Paltrow in New York, which can tell you the story a little bit later, but I would have assumed that from that the apron that she was wearing would become a bestseller. So whilst the actual publicity, I think, of dressing Gwyneth absolutely helps to build the brand, the apron itself, it didn't become like our number one seller.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't it? So I think, whilst traffic can be driven from different sources, that's why I think it's really important to keep a focus on, having an expert focusing on those analytics and really understanding. Yeah.
So just, I want to get to Gwyneth very shortly, but tell me, in terms of those pages that are ranking really well, what you mean by that is it's not necessarily a particular product page. It's a page where you explain the answer to what would be maybe a frequently asked question. Is that right?
I would say yes. So basically, I think it's a combination, but I guess what I'm saying is it's not just about the number one products. Like we definitely have key products in our range that rank the highest as far as, our number one selling aprons. Those pages are the ones that constantly get clicked on. But I think to support that, you can't just rely on the product pages driving the traffic and keeping people on the site for a longer time, because I guess the longer that people stay on your site and the more they explore it, then all that does is help increase your SEO. So if you can have the content pages that are removed from, the product focus and they give, insightful information that talks to your customers, then the people are staying on your site longer, and that is a really great key to building your ranking.
Let's talk celebrity endorsement. Gwyneth Paltrow donned one of your aprons. How did all that come about?
So that is the power of the internet. So basically, we got approached just before Christmas last year from an agency in America. Send us an email. We're doing a pop-up in New York. We'd like to buy 50 of your aprons. Could you get them to us within 2 weeks? We replied, yep, no problem. They're in stock. They can be, dispatched in the next 2 days. So off the order went, and they were lovely to deal with. They didn't disclose at the time who the pop-up was for. We came back from our Christmas break in January, and we had a new focus for our team, just to communicating with them. Any downtime anyone has, jump on social media, go through and look for any of our products that have been photographed that we've may not have been tagged in. And so we called it the content hunt.
Yeah.
And this kind of thing, obviously, again, makes our job easier for communicating to our, our own customers on our social channel, always looking for new content. And so one of the guys here, she was looking through Instagram and saw a photo of our apron at the Goop pop-up in New York. So Goop is obviously Gwyneth Paltrow's business. So she shared it with the team, and we were like, wow, that's what that order must have been, that we sent out just before Christmas. So then what happened was I started searching on Goop, and I was looking for more images. I couldn't find anything. And then I searched hashtag Goop Market, and what came up was a photo of one of the staff standing next to Gwyneth. So Gwyneth had her, was standing next to the staff member wearing the apron. And I was like, wow, that is such an amazing image. So we shared that on our social channels. We put that on Instagram, and we tagged Gwyneth. And surprisingly, she, the comment that we made was, we had no idea how amazing we dressed the staff at Gwyneth's Goop pop-up. She actually replied to that post herself and wrote, "I loved them."
Good on.
So if you can imagine the excitement in the office when that happened. So then following on from that, I actually emailed Goop, and I said, just wanted to introduce myself. We're a business in obviously Australia, and we had no idea that we'd dressed you guys, and thank you for this amazing opportunity. And so basically then what happened was they emailed me back the next day saying, funny that you've touched base with us, because considering that was probably like almost 6 to 8 weeks ago, the event from when we found out and then touched base with them. And they said, Gwyneth actually asked if we for us to contact you to see if you would be interested in producing aprons for the launch of the Goop Beauty brand in March. So that's when we then supplied more aprons, and one for Gwyneth to actually wear at the launch. And then she also gifted them to all the people attending the event. What a
great story. And what permission do you have to use Gwyneth's endorsement?
Yeah, so basically it's technically not Gwyneth, it's Goop. So we've purchased the images that we use on our site of her wearing our apron, and we're allowed to use those for any editorial PR opportunity as well as on our site. And we've also, I guess another marketing tool which going into is something we do each year. It's a publication called the Crew Review, and it's a newspaper-style catalogue that we produce each year, and it kind of, showcases our clients, showcases our new products. We interview customers, and basically within that this year we've also used the image as a full page in that, and we're allowed to do that. So
that's very old school of you to have a newspaper style catalogue.
I know.
How many do you print? Where do they go to?
Well, basically we did it for the first time last year, and we produced around 5,000 copies. And then what we did with that, we used that besides our online, marketing that we focus on consistently and, constantly. The Crew Review was basically, I guess, our number one offline communication tool. So basically what we did with that is we targeted businesses around the country by either region or industry, and we called it the Race Around Australia. So our client care team would all be given, either a region or an industry each week to focus on, to research businesses, and then to send them a copy of the Crew Review to introduce our business. So we, like the thing with the offline marketing like this, it's harder to track to understand, I guess, the investment and the result from that compared with online, where you can really track the analytics. So, like as I said last year, I think we printed around 5,000. The cost to send them is actually, it's obviously expensive. Like it was around $3 an envelope to send, and when you're looking at sending 5,000, that's obviously considerable postage cost. So what we've done this year, we've actually reprinted them 2,000 units, and we're going to tier how we're sending them out. And then we've done a secondary DM piece, which is a smaller postcard size apron menu, we're calling it. So we can get bigger volume in sending that.
I love the idea of having a team identify an industry, find the key players in that industry, and then hitting them up with some old school direct marketing. Nothing wrong with old school, nothing wrong with offline. Speaking of offline, you have done some advertising. When you first told me about this, I got a little bit nervous. I think you advertised in Time Out magazine, is that right? Which is like a
that is correct.
Lifestyle magazine that is it just Melbourne and Sydney or something like that?
It's international, actually, Time Out.
Is?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has a huge following, as I'm not sure how long it's been around, but I'm sure it's at least 20 years. It's a, well established.
Really? I just see it in the airport lounge every now and then. So what made you think that was a good environment? Because I'm guessing it wouldn't have been overly cheap, but you had a good outcome.
Well, absolutely. The reason that we partnered with them is they do have a very strong following and presence within the hospitality market. So they regularly host events where they have the Time Out Awards, and they have different categories for, bars and pubs and things like that, where they really bring the hospitality community together. So the association with them started more so sponsoring an award at these events, because for us it was our captured market to be able to sponsor a certain category. And from that, our partnership's grown. And like anything, in a small business, it is around doing things as cost effectively as possible. So with Time Out, it has been a partnership and often collaboration. So we will, in some instances, do contra work for them, where we'll produce uniforms and merchandise for their events. And from that, we will then get advertising space. I think I told you the story that's actually how we picked up Freedom Furniture, which is obviously one of our amazing, international, because we dress them in New Zealand as well, businesses. The key stakeholder who was running the uniform rebrand was at the hairdressers and having her hair done, and saw the ad in Time Out and thought to herself, why don't I know these guys?
Wow.
Because she'd been on the uniform hunt for around 6 months. It was part of her KPI, and she just couldn't find the right company who could, deliver what she wanted as a new vision for the uniforms for Freedom. So, for us...
that's a massive win, Felicity. For listeners who don't know Freedom, who are not in Australia or New Zealand, I mean, it's a big, cool furniture retailer, massive distribution. To be dressing their staff that's a win. I'd almost argue it's probably a bigger win than Gwyneth Paltrow.
Well, from a uniform rollout, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for them, prior to that, I think that their uniform hadn't kept up with the image of the brand of what they've evolved into and their product offering. And so I think the association with them, we're the perfect offering for them, delivering the contemporary uniform, for the staff selling their contemporary and modern products. So,
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
I just want to finish with the P word, pricing, because I know it troubles many a small business owner, many a large business owner. And I don't know a lot about your industry, but I am looking at the products on your website, and they're good and they look expensive. The prices don't seem overly expensive. And I add into that the fact that you've got some pretty significant overheads, 22 staff. You've got now a retail presence in Brunswick Street. How are you going about pricing? What am I missing?
Well, look, to be honest, the reason that that we can offer such competitive pricing is because we're direct. So that's something that we really try and educate our customers on. If we're technically a wholesale business selling to retail, direct to business. So really, if this product was sold by a distributor or a reseller, it could potentially be 30, 40% extra upcharge. So the value for money that our customers are getting is part of our, brand positioning. So whilst, we believe we're extremely well priced, the uniform industry in general is extremely competitive on price. There's a very big range of quality products in the market. So we sit, I would say, slightly higher than a lot of the mass market uniform brands, but we are delivering a very premium retail quality product. So we do focus very strongly on our price. We want it to be affordable for our customers because at the end of the day, they're buying multiple. It's not like they're just buying one apron or one shirt. They're buying multiple, uniforms for their staff.
Yeah.
And it does need to be affordable. We have businesses, in such a variety of sizes, like we dress the cafe around the corner with 4 staff, but then we're also, dressing, like we just talked about, Freedom or Hoyt Cinemas or Skybus Transport Company with, hundreds of staff. So on both spectrums, price is always the number one consideration that the customer is looking at. So for us, it's absolutely around being competitive on price, but producing a high quality product. So focusing on those two things, I think, has actually been the key to our success. And obviously with the currency fluctuation, pricing at some points, it does get difficult. But the more that we're growing our range and growing our market and our quantities, we can get, more competitive pricing with our factories. So we're just constantly monitoring that. Keeping things affordable is what we're focusing on.
Felicity, I reckon Cargo Crew is a great story. Well done.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim.
14 years later, you expect something. But I just think that's really interesting that 4 years ago you made that big shift into your own brand. It's paid off. It was a courageous move, I guess, at the time. But boy,
Absolutely.
oh boy, I think more businesses need to look at their industries and figure out where can we disrupt. Because I would say, and I don't know whether you'd agree, but most industries, there's parts of them that are tired and need to be challenged.
Absolutely. And I guess just to that point, probably one thing that I think made us make the transition into developing our own product range was because historically when we were in the space of dealing with the corporates and doing the bespoke work, the way that changed over that 10 years of dealing with marketing at one point, and then it shifted to dealing with procurement, and procurement's focus is all around, economy of scale. How can they source, globally or from, international portals? It was really about pushing out local suppliers. So we saw the writing on the wall and realised we need to either change our model of what we were doing, or potentially be dead in the water. And I think that's all small businesses need to be looking at the threats that are around them and then looking for opportunity for how they can fill and fill that gap and change their focus. So for us it was using all that experience from the years of making the bespoke uniforms and then making that an offering that's opened up to everyone, not just the key corporates that we were working for.
Yeah, love it. Well, listen, I hope one day I can give you the chance to dress a popular podcaster. I can't say who it is right now, but look, that should just be around the corner.
If you play your cards right, there might be an apron in the mail for you.
Oh, stop it. Love your work, Felicity. Thanks for sharing.
See you, Tim.
Well, there you go, team. Felicity Rogers from the very cool, modern, not corporate, uniform supplier Cargo Crew. Now, coming up shortly, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Felicity. Plus, I share some additional info about Cargo Crew that Felicity neglected to tell us. But first, here's a word from 2 businesses that want to help you build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Support for this show comes from Web Central, who know exactly what Google want. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, spells out how to please the world's biggest search engine.
Every time Google comes back to your website and crawls it, they need to see that your website has been changed, updated with fresh content, and new imagery. For example, say if you're a restaurant, you want to update your menu every week and provide some specials that are on your website, give some customer testimonials. Now that fresh new content is what Google's looking for. So if you just build your website and leave it for 4 years, which, let's be honest, is very common in the Australian market, then you're not actually optimising your website for your visitors or for your search engines like Google.
Web Central, building and managing beautifully effective business websites that make the big G very happy. Check out webcentral.com.au/Timbo for exclusive listener offers. The Small Business Big Marketing Show is also grateful for the support of Aussie-owned business DesignCrowd.com, the world's #1 custom design marketplace where it's beautifully simple and cheap. I love cheap. To get a design you love, guaranteed. I asked founder Alec Lynch what problems Design Crowd solved for us small business owners.
Buying design has traditionally been an expensive process, a slow process, and a risky process. Design Crowd's crowdsourcing solution fixes those problems.
DesignCrowd.com, a faster, cheaper, more creative way to get a custom logo, graphic, or print design for your business. For a special VIP offer that can save you up to $100 on your first design, visit designcrowd.com/Timbo. Now, as I said, I discovered something after my interview with Felicity that she neglected to mention. I Googled Cargo Crew, and Inside Retailer had an interesting article which said staff uniform retailer Cargo Crew has signed a deal to outfit all staff in the world-renowned restaurateur Klaus Meyer's brand new 5,000 square foot eatery in the Great Northern Food Hall in New York's Grand Central Station. How's that for a win? An international win for a little Melbourne-based company. This Klaus fellow, he's a 2-star Michelin chef, got a couple of 2-star Michelin restaurants, and now he's opening up the Great Northern Food Hall in New York, and Cargo Crew are supplying all the uniforms. That's a big deal. Go Cargo Crew. Now, here's my top 3 attention grabbers from my time with Felicity. Number 1, briefing. Become proficient in how you brief creative people. Develop that skill. I think many small business owners undervalue creativity as it's often hard to measure its ROI, that's return on investment. However, when you have a logo you love, or a corporate uniform that people constantly comment on, or a website that really pops, then you'll understand the power of great design. And great design comes from great briefs. You want to understand more about that process, join the Small Business Big Marketing Forum and I'd be happy to help you out. Attention grabber number 2, the Crew Review. I do love an old school marketing idea, and I particularly love the fact that Felicity had her team identify key industries and the key players within them and mail them directly. Hey? Bit of snail mail. That's a great job you could outsource to a virtual assistant if you were liking the idea. Attention grabber number 3, ease and simplicity. Everything about the Cargo Crew brand smells of ease and simplicity. Easy to buy products, a simple website to find your way around, an easy return policy. The key here is to remove as many blockages as you can to make it easy for people to buy from you. There you go. They were things that grabbed my attention. What grabbed yours? Love to know. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/334. Leave a comment in the show notes. Okay, listener feedback left on the Apple iTunes store, which I do love. This one is from I Love Direct Selling. That's the person's name. I know who this is. She says, sensational podcast, ! 5 stars. Her name is Jen Usher. I know that. She's from Direct Selling Australia, and she's got a great podcast herself, Direct Selling Radio, if you're into that kind of thing. It's a really insightful view into the world of direct selling. Jen says, Tim's podcasts are not only fun to listen to, but very informative. Oh, yeah, I like that intersection, Jen. Entertainment and education. I live in the middle of those two. As a marketer, it's important for me to stay on top of trends and to get as many tips and tricks as I can. Extremely useful and relevant content. Thank you, Timbo. Keep them coming. I will, Jen, and you keep yours coming. I spoke at the Direct Selling Association's AGM recently, and what a great group of people they were. In fact, got booked for a couple of jobs as a result of that. One in Australia, one in New Zealand in January. I love that. Anyway, I digress. Thanks, Jen, and everyone else. Head over to iTunes, leave a listener review, put in a marketing question in your website, and I'll give you an answer and a bit of publicity. That almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I know, don't get too teary. There'll be another one next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that, and the Tuesday after that. Hey, do you remember that chat I had with Paul Greenberg, who made millions from starting Deals Direct, an online retail store back in the 90s? He's now head of the National Online Retailers Association, and there is nothing that bloke doesn't know about integrating online retail into your business. I asked Paul what he would sell if he was starting an online business today.
Well, okay. Well, I'll start off with a quick quote: get big, get niche, or get out. I've heard that bandied around. I'd go niche. So Deals Direct was an everything to all men. I wouldn't go there. It's bloody hard. It's expensive. It's hard yak. I'd find a niche product. So that's to answer the first part of your question. It would be a niche product with a strong Australian theme, but it would be a global product. So, in other words, Australia to the world.
What do you mean? Hold the second part. What do you mean with Australian theme?
So, I think Brand Australia, and this is my passion, is an underestimated brand. I don't think we realise how much gravitas there is for our brands in China, Europe, and the rest of the world.
That was actually a great interview. Paul goes on to explain how he would then set up such a business and how he would market it. I'd go as far to say that episode is literally a business in a box, if you really listen to what he's got to say. If you want to hear about the rest of that interview, not about it, if you want to hear the rest of the interview, plus hundreds more, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or you can subscribe free on iTunes. Hey, I would love to hear what you love about this show, or don't love. I've got a thick skin, and I'm always open to improvement. So head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and leave me your comment, or maybe you want to join the forum, hey? Be sure to check out designcrowd.com/Timbo, because they're an ideal way to get any marketing touch points designed for that beautiful business of yours. Plus, there's an exclusive listener offer waiting for you that you can save up to $100 with on your first briefing. And remember, if you want your website to deliver results, then don't do it yourself. Check out Web Central's Do It For Me, aka DIFM, website package over at webcentral.com.au/Timbo. If you love this show, tell someone else who could do with a bit of marketing love. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thank you so much for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.